What's up, everyone? This is the admin of the Chaos Burger page here, coming at you with a, uh, I guess you can say like a quote-unquote budget deck profile in a sense, because what I'm going to be showcasing today is Deletors. Now, I don't really play this deck as often as I used. Like, I never really touched Deletors for the longest time. And I don't know why. I guess it was mainly because it wasn't really my playstyle back then. And I just recently just got... I mean, I picked up everything because of... Not everything, but like the core... The pieces and stuff from ever since Rondu came out, and I just kept it. So, because of that, and then the sneak release of Galaxy Stargate, I was able to, in a way, finish the deck. I'm still missing a few pieces, but you'll see in the video what I mean. But this is just a preemptive deck profile on my case. Also, don't mind the sleeves, because, yeah, I know they're Star Wars sleeves, but, I mean, I don't care at this point. So, you'll see what I mean. What I mean by budget, because I didn't really put too much money into this deck, because of... I just was able to pick it up a little bit by little. There is one thing I do have to say. There is no Egorgs in here. So, yeah. But you can run the deck without Egorgs. So, but it would be nice to have one. I just don't want to dish out that much money for it. So, and the deck can run without it. So, without further ado, let's get to the deck profile. So, I'm running 2 Flutter Deletor, I don't know how you call this thing. Zuije? Yeah, I think it was Zuije. Flutter Deletor, Zuije. He's probably your best starter in Deletors. Because, one, I mean, besides being the Forerunner, his other effect is when this unit is retired from rearguard for the effect or cost for your card, if your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, look at the top card of your deck, call it to rear. If you call the card with Deletor in its card name, put this into the soul, and then countercharge 1. So usually you combo this with the grade 3, because the grade 3 will be the one that deletes your opponent's Vanguard, and then upon that happening, this will activate Superior Call the top card, and then you can put this into soul and countercharge 1. This helps you get soul. I've seen people run 3 of these. I probably would run 3, but then I noticed that it does get pretty cloggy with 3. But there are preferences based on players, so I'm just gonna leave it at. But I like it at 2, and I'll just leave it at 2. So, but yeah, so that's the starter. For the triggers, I'm running 4 of the Cramping Deletor 80. When placed on rearguard circle, if I have a Vanguard with Deletor in its card name and my opponent's Vanguard is deleted, I get to draw a card. So it's kind of a 1-for-1. The 4K is nice. It's just for the draw and then the board presence, so it's nice. I am also running 4 of the Rendering Deletor Aphanus. When this unit is retired from rear, for the effect or cost of your card, if your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, look at the top card of your deck, call it to rear, it gets 5k. So this is kind of like the starter, except it doesn't go into soul, but gives whatever you call 5k. So it's good stack material from your hand. Yeah, you're losing out on a 10k shield, but sometimes it's worth it if you're going for that deleting push. So that's why. So 8 stands. I am opting the 8 stand for crit build. I'm running for the Biting Deletor Divas. So put this on the top of the deck at the end of the battle. That this unit boosted. If your opponent has a deleted Vanguard, may pay the cost. If you do, shuffle the deck. Countercharge 1. Opponent chooses a card from his or her drop zone and binds it face down. So this is really good because then the thing about it is originally before Stargate came out, the deck oriented to a 12 stand build because it was mainly focusing on a specific grade 2 and also pressuring with standing. But then I noticed that after a while, the stands were nice, but you couldn't push enough, and the opponent would just essentially, if they were at 4, they'll just try to block the rearguard swings and then take the Vanguard swing because they were able to block the rears at like 3 or 4 depending on the situation. So there was not much pressure you could do, and then if your opponent healed out of it, it kind of sucked. So opting for a 4 crit in here actually is nice because then you throw in the surprise that, oh, hey, you know, if you're taking the Vanguard hit, there's a possible chance I can crit you, even if there is 4 crits, but it is a recyclable crit, as long as your opponent's Vanguard's deleted, which is nice. So, that's why I'm running the 4. And then I'm running 4 Deletor heals, just the generic Deletor heals. So the thing about it is that I would run the Stargate, or not the Stargate, the Starvader heals, but because this deck is so Deletor based, there really is no point in playing the Starvader heals. You might as well just run the basic Deletor heals so that all your stuff is always live no matter what happens, which is nice because then, you know, your stacking cards will work out, your calling cards will work out and everything, which is what you're trying to do. Even if you have to call a heal, it's still something. Well, yeah, it does suck though when you superior call a heal. So that's grade 0s. Grade 1s. The grade 1 lineup is a bit different compared to a lot of people, but it's also somewhat the same. So yeah. So I'm running 3 Guitarios. These are the 10k attackers. For deleters, these are really old. BT16 Legions of Dragons and Blades. So what this does is when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a deleter in your Vanguard if you have a Vanguard with deleter in its card name, it gains 3k. So it's just 10k swings. It's pretty big because, yeah, if you're at 0 power and a 10k comes in, you know, you have to block 15k, which is still a lot, you know, because that's like about 2-3 cards out of your hand just from this one card, which is nice. It's also good for early game, but I wouldn't suggest going in unless you know you're in a good position to. So, but now mine I only have 3, but 3 is usually enough anyways, so that's fine. I'm running 4 of the Deletor Stride Fodders. So in hand, continuous, you have a Vanguard with Deletor in its card name, while you're paying the cost of a G unit with paying the cost of Stride for a G unit with Deletor in its card name. This can be, you know, this is the Stride Fodder for it. And then it's got a second ability where counterblast 1 when this card is discarded from your hand for the cost of Stride, and you have a Vanguard with Deletor in its card name, in its original card name. You pay the cost. If you do, call this card to rear. So the thing about this is that if your field is wiped out, like if you're playing against Kagero or something like that, this helps you kind of refill out the field, because then you just pitch us a Stride for a Deletor Vanguard, for a Deletor Stride, and then you just superior call this by a counterblast. Because the deck doesn't really take that much counterblast, so it's nice to use it on this. So yeah. I'm running 4 of the Remove Deletor Egorgs. So it's a perfect guard for Deletor units, and then it's also got the Vanished Delete drop from the drop zone, where you bind it face down. So upon your opponent's Vanguard being deleted, you can banish this face down, choose one of your units with Deletor in its card name, and it'll gain 4k. This is a really good push power for, you know, bumping up rear guards, especially an important grade 2 that I'll get to a little bit later. Because the thing is, you want to make it where your opponent can't outguard, and sometimes you have to just rely on that power boost just to get there. So this is why it's in here. I'm also running 2, I forgot what his name is, Looting Deletor Gunek. So what he does is, upon place on rear guard, Soul Blast 2, you may pay the cost of Soul Blast 2. If you do, draw a card. So it's just a Soul Blast 2 draw a card. This deck lacks hand, so if you can get as much hand as possible, it's really nice. Now, do keep in mind that there is a reason why I'm only running at 2. You also gotta watch out how much you're using, how much soul you're using, because there is one other card that utilizes soul, depending on the situation. Usually early game wise, this is not a big problem, because you can just call Soul Blast 2 draw a card just to get to your pieces at least, which is nice. I did run it at 1, but then it really sucked because it never came at the right time, and I ended up losing because of that. So I ended up going back to 2, which worked out a lot better, because you only really pull it off 1 time in a game, which is all you really need, in all honesty. So, yeah. So that's the grade 1s. Here's the grade 2s. So the grade 2 lineup is a fair bit different. Now, I did say this is kind of a quote-unquote budgety build, because this is all pieces that I've gathered over time, and I never really put in too much effort to building this deck as much. and until I just got all the pieces somehow through like Rondu and now the Stargate booster. So I'm just gonna get, yeah, so I'll just go through it. So I'm running 2 of the Bloating Deletor Geo, the 10k vanilla. I'm only running 2 because it's quote-unquote a placeholder, and then at the same time it's not, because this is really good against Rush if you're going first. Because Rush is one thing that this deck has a problem with, and if you can mitigate the Rush, it's nice. So I'm just running 2. Yeah, I should run 4, but then at the same time, there's really not a need for it because you don't need that many. Some of the times you get it, sometimes you don't. It's no big deal. You just have to kind of adapt to it. I am running 3 of the, I think this is Bayard. I can't really read it. Yeah, Bayard. Racer Deletor Bayard. So it's a new card from the new Stargate set. What it does is when your rear guard with Deletor in its card name is retired for the effect or cost of your card with Deletor in its card name, this unit gets 2k until end of turn. So that affects stacks. So if you say you had this on rear and you're on the grade 3 Deletor where you sack counterblast 1, stack 2, this gets 2 stacks automatically. And then its second effect is a continuous if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with GREI in its card name, this unit gets plus 2k. So with just one turn, one Gryon sack of 2, this becomes a 15k attacker, which is really nice. It's better than I forgot what the other grade 2 is, but it's only a 12k attacker. This one is an 11k attacker on its own, which is nice. So that's why I'm opting for this card more. Plus you're deleting anyways, so you're going to end up pulling off its effect anyways, which is, yeah. I'm only running 3 because there's not much room in here, and also of the other grade 2s I'm running. Now, for the main grade 2 of the deck, that's essentially an MVP pressure for your opponent. 4 of the Forbid Deletor, Zekulad, or whatever, I don't know how to say his name, but yeah. So, he's a really, really strong grade 2, especially for this Deletor deck, because it puts so much pressure on your opponent. Now, what it does is act Counterblast 1 Deletor in its card name, 1 card with Deletor in its card name, once per turn, mind you. If your opponent's Vanguard is deleted until end of turn, this unit gets plus 2k. Now, and the following effect. And the following effect is auto rearguard. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, if your opponent has a grade 3 Vanguard, he or she cannot stride during his or her next ride phase. So, they are not allowed to stride if they ever let this thing hit. Even if they re-ride, they still can't stride, because it's a conditional effect. And so, because of that effect, this is one of the best grade 2s in this whole deck that provides the pressure to your opponent. Yes, both you and your opponent needs to be at grade. Essentially, what it means is that both of you and your opponent has to be at grade 3 for this to work. But still, it works out because you do it on a stride turn, and it makes it even bigger. And if this guy is hitting for almost 25, you know, they're essentially dropping hand, or at least perfect guarding this or G guarding this, and they'll have to also watch out their damage, because if they're at 4 damage, you know, they can't afford to let this hit. They can't let the Vanguard hit. And if you have double of these on the rear guard circle, they can't afford to let any of it hit, because the moment you let it hit, they can't stride, which is a big problem now, because if you don't stride, you're not getting enough advantage, essentially, with specific decks. So that's why he's really good in here. I am running 1 Clipping Deletor Evo. So this is more of just a combo card, in a sense. He's not that great, and I don't really like him too much, but he is nice to have on occasions. So what he does is Counterblast 2, when this unit is placed on rear, if your opponent has a deleted Vanguard, pay the cost if you do, search your deck for up to 1 Deletor, 1 card with Deletor in its card name, not himself, and then call to rear, and then shuffle your deck. So this combos out with this card, the one of Given. Now, I don't have multiple Givens. I'm not going to drop the money for it. There's no point. Just 1 is usually enough for me, because majority of the time I'm just going for push power rather than trying for the restand. Because the restand is nice, but then I'm already getting so much benefits anyways, it doesn't really matter. But if I'm going first and I just happen to get this, and I have 3 counterblasts, then I will call this and start comboing for the double swing, which is really nice. But then you have no field, which, you know, depending on the situation, kind of hurts you. So yeah, and then you run the one, and I have the one given because yeah, just cause I don't have much of a reason for it. It's just in here. If I have it, I have it. I don't, kind of thing. So that's all the grade 2s. Grade 3s, I'm running 4 of the Gryans. Now, there is a misprint in this. It should be Grei, not Y. Be sure there's already the errata on it if you guys haven't noticed. So this is essentially a really good grade 3 for you if you're going for a stride turn. First effect is essentially really good because it's a counterblast, 1 sack, 2 deleter, delete your opponent's Vanguard, delete all of your opponent's Vanguard. So it's really good. Second effect is on stride skill. If you're stride with deleter, it's card name stride over this. You pay there's not much of a cost. You just reveal the top card of your deck if it's a deleter. Call it to rear. If it's not, put it into the drop zone. After that, you choose a unit, gets plus 2k, and then your opponent chooses 2 cards from his or her drop zone and binds them or banish deletes them. So the banish delete thing is just an extra thing, but you're mainly doing it for the free call because the deck does lack field once the field dies. So it's nice just to continuously call stuff. It sucks when you call heal triggers and stuff like that, but hey, you know, it happens. So that's why you run 4 of that. I'm running 4 of the new deleter, hack deleter Greigil, or Greigil, yeah. So its effect is Soul Blast 2 with deleter in their card names. When this unit is placed on Van or rear, you may pay the cost. If you do, until the end of turn, this unit gets plus 5. And if this was written on the Vanguard circle, you delete your opponent's Vanguard. And then its second effect is when this unit is retired from rear for the effect or cost of your card with deleter in its card name, if the number of cards in your hand is 3 or less, draw a card. Now, I did say this deck does have hand difficult with hand, and this is where it comes in handy if you have it on the field. Because if you called this through Gryan's skill and you just happen to have only 3 cards on the hand, you know, you just sack it and then you draw a card, which is really nice because then, you know, you're maintaining hand at least a little bit. There is a combo with this, which is really dumb, where there is a pretty good combo with this where you can just stride into anything. You can ride into this and stride into anything and just, you know, at the same time have your opponent's Vanguard deleted with just a Soul Blast 2. But it's nice. It gets you... This is a really good... this is better than Gryon in all honesty, which is why you'd run it over... which is why you'd run this over it. Alright, now, let's see. So for strides... I am running 4 of the Aldians. He's really good because you just flip him over, sacrifice or retire choose one of your rear guards with deleter in its card name, retire it. If you have a heart with deleter in its card name, delete all of your opponent's Vanguard. All your units in the front row gains plus 2k for each face-up card in your G-Zone with the same card name as this. So usually the first time around you get 2k, and then the second time around you get 6k, which is really nice. Boosts up the grade 2, which helps with, you know, pressuring the opponent. I am running... Technically, I don't have everything yet, but I am supposed to be running 4 of this guy. Gauild, I think is what it's called. Gauild? Yeah. So first effect is if you have a Vanguard with deleter in its card name and the number of cards in your hand is 1 or less, this card may stride without paying the cost of stride. So it's nice because then if you commit your hand all the way to guard and you have no more hand, you draw for turn, you can just stride into this for free without having to do anything else, without having to pitch for cost. Now it's also got a second effect, choose a face down card with deleter in its card name from your G-Zone. Doesn't matter what kind of deleter. It could be a G-Guard deleter or himself. Usually I just flip himself. Turn to face up, choose 2 of your rear guards with deleter in its card name and retire them. So it's kind of the same idea where, you know, this is like the worser version of Aldian, but it still gets the job done. If you have a hard card with deleter in its card name, delete all of your opponent's Vanguard. Now, this doesn't get the power boost, but that's fine because you're mainly doing it for the delete. So, yeah. Alright, and then, so that's those. I'm running the 1 Amnesty. I'm still debating on stuff because I'm not running Egorgs, and I don't have an Egorg. If I did have an Egorg, this is probably where the Egorg will be. But because I don't have one, I'm running the 1 Amnesty just because. I am running the 1 Stark. It is nice to have because Deletors can use this pretty well, but then again, all Link Joker decks can actually use this, but just depends on the timing of when you pull this off. So that's why I run it. That's all my strides, because usually by the time, the way I look at it is that for the Deletor deck to work, you have to kill your opponent by 3rd stride, and usually by then, it usually ends, but hey, sometimes it drags along, but usually multiple deleting turns will hurt your opponent hard, so, yeah. Alright, so, the rest are just G-Guards. I'm running 2 of the Deletor G-Guards. This is nice because then it kills off a lot of weak attacks. Mind you, resist hurts this big time, but otherwise, if they don't have resist, this is really nice, because then you can lower the power by like 6k, 8k, you know, it depends on how many. So what it does is counterblast 1, soul blast 1. When placed on guard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Deletor in its card name, you pay the cost. You may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 3 of your opponent's units on their front row, and they get minus 1k for each face-up card in the Vanguard, rear guard, and G zone that has Deletor in their card name. So if you count the field, there's 6, and then if you, depending on how many strides you have, so it doesn't count the one on this card. It doesn't count itself when it's on the guard circle, but majority of the time I get about 8k from this card, which is nice. 2 is usually enough. I don't see myself using any more than that, so. I am running the 1 Cosmo Wraith G-Guard, because counterblast 1 force your opponent to choose the rear and the back row and lock it, and then this will get 5k. It's nice because then, you know, it's a free, not free, but it's a 20k shield, and, you know, it kills off a booster at least, depending on the situation. I am running 2 Destiny Guardians in here, because the mirror match hurts, and so depending on who you face against, Destiny Guardian can come in very handy, because say if you're against a Chaos matchup and they lock your field, you can Destiny Guardian their attack and unlock 2, so then that way you're open for more attacks, which is really nice. And having to, and because of how Link Joker, how it's so Link Joker oriented right now, it's nice to have unlockers, just in case. And because they're not on Crisis and they're on a stride, they can't retire it and whatnot. And then the last card I'm running is Coburn. So Coburn is an interesting card, because I actually was not thinking about running this at first, but then after testing it and playing just tournament-wise, it's actually really nice. So what it does is choose a card from your hand to discard it. When this is placed on the guard circle during the battle that your opponent's Vanguard attacked, you may pay the cost. If you do, this unit gets 5k until the end of that battle for every 2 cards in your opponent's hand. So it's really nice, because if your opponent has like an 8-card hand, that's essentially a 20k shield on top of the 15. So you're guarding for about 46 just with 1 card. And depending on who you go against, it's very nice to use. It's a good one-of. The deck does lack hand power or guard potential, so that's why it's only at 1 in here. And you only ever really need the 1, because you're going to use like other G-Guards for your other stuff. So yeah, so that's my Deletor deck. I know some of it just seems so pricey. I mean, like, I know this is a lot and this is a lot, but then remember, there's a rare version of this one. I only have these. I do say budget, but then at the same time, these aren't necessities that you'll need. Majority of the time, you're just gonna need 4 of each of these guys, and then like just some of the other G-Guards, especially this. I mean, they're rares. The G-Guards are rares and stuff, minus Destiny Guardians and, you know, well, Destiny Guardians. So you can build the deck on a pretty good budget. So yeah, you can also run this without the given as well. So I mean, majority of this is rares, commons, double rares, which are really cheap. The only thing you're probably gonna have to watch out for is Guitarios, because they're pricey as heck. But otherwise, everything is like, this thing's got reprinted. These are common. These are gonna be really cheap. These are like 5. Like, if you look at it, it's very manageable to build. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile of sorts. I know I did say budget, but there is, like, I did say, but you could take out some of the cards and they'll still work. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. If you guys have any questions about this deck or like alternatives, let me know. I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. You know, yeah. So hope you guys Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll try to be uploading more videos if I can. And so, if you like what you see, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video, alright? See you guys.